Hello friends, welcome to Shauna Stitches. I'm Shauna and this is my crafty podcast where I talk about all the things that I've been working on lately. This is a special episode, not your normal whips and finished objects episode. Today I'm going to be talking about how I am gearing up for the Geogradient MKAL, which is the mystery knit along done by Stephen West every year. This year's just happens to be called Geogradient, but they change throughout the years. It is September the 23rd, and we are getting ready to get started. For the MKAL, I think the first clue comes out October the 5th. So if you don't have yarn and you haven't bought the pattern yet, there is still time. I hope that I can get you as excited about the MKAL as I am. I know for me, this is the best knitting time of the year, and I cannot wait. Every year, it's just like a knitter's Christmas to see the first clue, to see the second clue, where is it going, and to eventually end up with a finished shawl. Before I show you my yarn choices for 2023 MKAL Geogradient, I thought it would be fun to go through the mystery shawls that I have done so far. This year will be my 6th year, so let's start with year number 1. My first year, and if I look that way, it's because my computer is there. First year was 2018, and that was texture time. In 2018, I was a very new knitter, and I think I'd been knitting for roughly 2 years. I kept hearing all this hype about someone called Stephen West, and I didn't really know who that was, and I didn't know much about the MKAL. But I was able to find almost all the yarns in my stash except for this very bright pink mohair. The pink that you see, that is mohair. This was a lot of new techniques for me, including Latvian braids, syncopated brioche, and what else did we have in this? The bubble stitch, all kinds of fun things. The puppy paw lace, I guess if you want to call it lace. And I really enjoyed this one. Some people don't necessarily like the shape, and that can be said for more than just texture time. A lot of people don't necessarily love the shapes that these turn out to, but I find that they are fairly wearable. And ultimately, I always learn something, and I love that because Stephen West holds your hand. He makes videos, he breaks it down. There's the Ravelry group where you can either be in the no photos group, so no spoilers, but you can still get help, or there's the photo group so you can see if yours is looking like everyone else's. In total, this shawl used 2,109 yards, and just a little note for my personal gauge. I knit on a size larger than recommended, and although my gauge has loosened up over the years, I still do that, so I knit on a 3.75 millimeter needle. The second shawl, mystery shawl that I did was 2019, and this one might be one of the most popular MKAL shawls since I've been participating. Let me see if I can get this going the right way. That is Starflake. This one's a little different than most. It only uses 2 colors. We had the brioche option, which I chose. This beautiful star shape that it started out with. Just beautiful. And lace. Some little lace repeats in there. With this shawl, I had so much yarn left over, and there wasn't an option for making it a lot larger than the pattern said, so I added my own at the very bottom there. I winged it. I still wasn't like the most experienced knitter, but it turned out good. And to top it all off, we had this multicolor I-cord bind off. If you don't know anything about Stephen West, let me just tell you, he loves an I-cord. This yarn was very special to me because a internet friend, an Instagram friend who no longer dyed this for me when she had her shop. It was called Bean and Bam Hand Dyed. And this was a wedding gift to me. She let me pick what colors I was interested in, and she dyed it up. For the Starflake, I used 1,436 yards. So that is Starflake, and that is 2 shawls. The third mystery knit along that I did with Stephen West was in 2020. This one is called Slip Stravaganza. There we go. It's huge. For this one, I used Holsgarn, and I ordered this straight from Holsgarn out of Denmark. And I really like this one. I like the colors. I just think they're so pretty. For Slip Stravaganza, I used 1,959 yards. That's a lot of yarn. This thing is big, real big. And we have the stripy honeycombs, some large lace sections, and just a lot of fun color and texture play. So that is the third shawl. I'm running out of neck. Here we go. Shawl number 3. The fourth mystery knit along that I did was Shawlography, and this was in 2021. And for this shawl, I was so proud to have gotten all of these colors out of my stash. This was all mostly stashed from Knit Crate. If you remember when that was a thing, they sent you mystery colors of sock yarn every month. And I mostly just held on to them because they weren't necessarily my colors. If you haven't noticed yet, other than Starflake, let's see, here we go. Texture Time and Starflake, a lot of pink. I really, really enjoy pink. So with this one, very outside my normal colors, but I have to be honest, I think this is my favorite color palette of any of the shawls that I have knit so far. I just think they really went well together. And the only thing that I changed about this shawl that you will not probably see in anyone else's is that I used random number generator for the stripes at the bottom. And they were supposed to go in a sequence, and I didn't do that. I wanted to change it up. Not sure if that was the best choice, but it was my choice. I'm definitely not ripping out. The interesting thing about this one was also, this is the only shawl that I haven't finished like immediately after the last clue, work through the last clue as soon as it comes out and finish that. This one got sat aside. It was getting to the stripes. I did a couple of the stripes and I realized like it wasn't changing, and I just set it aside for whatever project seemed more interesting. So right before the 2022 MKAL, I did finish this up. So I've only ever had one mystery knit along on the needles at a time. Definitely running out of neck. Okay, the final mystery knit along that I have done to date is last year's, so 2022, and it is the Twists and Turns. This one was very controversial. Also, I think it is the most interesting construction and shape that we've done so far. It was modular, I guess, in an effect. So we started with this center panel here and then attached on the sides. I think we just attached this on. That was like clue 2, those two. And then clue 3 were these long pieces, and clue 4 was that little bit at the bottom, if I remember right. For this project, I used Knit Picks palette, which is a non-superwash yarn, similar to the Holsgarn. I would say it has a similar feel and makeup, and quite nice, very warm. I really like it. This one used 1,640 yards. Let's see if we can get the final one on here. If I'm ever very, very, very cold, I can wear all my shawls. Can I do this next year? I don't know, because like I said, I'm running out of neck and shoulders. Anyway, I thought that would be fun to get them all on at once and let you see what they all look like. All right, so out of all of those, which one is your favorite? Have you knit all the same shawls that I have? And if so, which one did you enjoy the most? What color palette did you like the best? And what are you hoping to see in 2023 with Geogradient? If you haven't already checked it out, the pattern calls for a 4-color gradient. And Stephen says it doesn't have to be a fade. But to me, in my own head, a fade and a gradient are so similar. Now, if you look at his suggested yarn palettes, you can see some of them don't follow that fade. So a darkest color to a lightest color of the same, I guess, shades of the same color. Some of his will have maybe 2 blues and a pop of green and another lightest color. And I don't know what to think about that. It's going to be very interesting to see when these shawls start to come to life, what exactly the color play is between everything. But without further ado, let me show you my color picks for Geogradient. I went with Holstgarn again, and I really do like the shawl that I made out of that already, Slipstravaganza. I think it came out really nice. So here are, let's hold them in order. There are my 4 colors, from lightest over here to darkest over here. Very interestingly, I watched Stephen's video about how to choose your colors, and I immediately went over to Holstgarn. This was before he came out with the little previews of his kits, and they have these shade packs and shade card things where you could order samples of colors, and there's different ranges there, and then they have their site pretty well lined up to where the color families are together. So I picked for my lightest color Candy Floss. And these are 50-gram little cakes with 314 yards in 50 grams. So it's a very generous fingering weight. You might even be confused and think maybe it's lace weight. But once you wash it, it really does plump up. In fact, let me show you here. Back to the Slipstravaganza. If you can see, I mean, that's knit on a 3.75 millimeter needle. It's definitely not lace. It might appear a little more open than some of the other yarns, but I think it does a really great job. So that's my lightest. My second lightest is this color. And this is called Allium. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So again, there are the first 2. I think my lighting is messing with the colors a little bit. If I go really close, they don't seem so accurate, but like here, that looks pretty good. My third color is this one, and this is Peony. And I think this color is in, yes, this color has to be in this shawl. Let's see if I can find a large chunk of this color. Those are definitely the same. So, as I said, I have a color preference. I do love pink. Other colors are good too, but I just love pink. All right, and this is my final color. And this one is called Comfrey? Not sure. So again, those are my 4 colors. And I have 2 of each of these. So I know I will have a good bit of yarn left over, and that's okay. I would always rather have extra yarn than not enough, and I am excited. The yarn for my entire shawl, including shipping from Denmark, was like $40.50. So I can't complain about that. For those of you who are nervous to make a large investment into a shawl that you may or may not like, I can highly recommend using the Holstgarn yarn. It's nice because your investment is very low. And if you ended up just literally throwing it in the trash. You wouldn't be out a lot, and you could always reuse the yarn for something else. So far, I have yet to order a kit from Stephen and Penelope. I just can't quite pull the plug on that one, but I have finished every single mystery shawl that I've ever started. I've never had the inkling of like, I'm not going to keep going. This is too difficult. I will say on twists and turns, this first section, although it wasn't making me want to quit per se, this was a lot of knitting. And before we chained up these loops, they were just very large holes, and I had to think to myself, what is Stephen thinking? But I have always trusted the process. I think he is just a knitting genius, and he thinks outside the box. That being said, I've noticed lately it seems like a lot of his patterns are playing it a little more safe than he used to. Maybe that is him getting a little bit older, and maybe that's what he wants for himself, or maybe he's going to surprise us all and this will be the craziest design yet. I don't know, but I'm just so excited, and I hope you are too. I really hope that you enjoyed that little walk through memory lane with my shawls, and I would love to hear what your plans are. Leave me a comment down below. All the shawls that I showed will be linked down below, and if I remember right, I will also post links to Stephen's videos where he talks about Geogradient. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you all being here. Bye.